A key claim made by U.S. President Donald Trump about Iran's missile capabilities is facing serious scrutiny from within the intelligence community. In his State of the Union address this week, Trump warned that Iran was working on missiles that could soon reach the United States, a statement that raised the stakes in already tense relations with Tehran.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
But according to multiple sources familiar with classified assessments, U.S. intelligence does not back that timeline. Officials say there have been no changes to a 2025 unclassified assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which concluded that Iran could take until 2035 to develop a militarily viable intercontinental ballistic missile. That assessment is based on Iran's current space launch vehicle technology, which analysts say would require significant adaptation before it could serve as a reliable ICBM platform.
They're trying to achieve intercontinental ballistic missiles. For example, you've seen them try to launch the satellites into space. You've seen them increasing the range of the missiles they have now. And clearly they are headed in the pathway to one day being able to develop weapons that could reach the continental U.S. They already possess weapons that could reach much of Europe, already now, as we speak. And the ranges continue to grow every single year exponentially, which is amazing to me. For a country that's facing sanctions, whose economy is in tatters, whose people are suffering, and somehow they still find the money to invest in missiles of greater and greater capacity every year. This is an unsustainable threat.
In other words, intelligence agencies believe Iran remains years away from fielding a missile capable of striking the U.S. homeland. One source added that even if China or North Korea, both of which have cooperated with Iran in the past, were to provide technological assistance, it would likely still take up to 8 years at the earliest to produce an operational ICBM-level system. The sources, speaking on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of intelligence matters, said they were unaware of any existing assessments indicating that Iran is on the verge of deploying such a missile. They did not rule out the possibility of new classified information, but stressed that no publicly known report supports the claim of an imminent threat to the continental United States. The White House declined to comment on the discrepancy. The controversy adds a new dimension to Trump's broader case for potential military action against the Islamic Republic. By presenting Iran's missile development as an urgent and near-term danger, the president appeared to frame the threat in immediate terms. However, if intelligence projections remain unchanged, the timeline may be far longer than suggested. The issue now becomes one of credibility and consequence. When presidential warnings about national security threats diverge from intelligence assessments, lawmakers and allies alike take notice.
For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence, but this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
As tensions with Iran continue to simmer, clarity over capabilities and timelines could shape decisions that carry global implications. For now, the intelligence community's assessment appears clear. Iran's path to an operational ICBM capable of reaching the United States is measured in years, not months, and that distinction could prove critical in the debate over what comes next.
Beneath Iran's mountains, a shadow arsenal waits, hidden from satellites, shielded from airstrikes, ready within minutes. For decades, Tehran has been building not just missiles, but an underground war machine. What military analysts call missile cities are buried deep below the surface, designed for one purpose: survive the first strike and answer with overwhelming force. As tensions with Israel and the United States simmer, these tunnels have become the backbone of Iran's deterrence strategy. This is the story of how underground networks became one of the most powerful weapons in the Middle East. The roots of Iran's missile strategy trace back to the brutal years of the Iran-Iraq War. Iraqi missiles rained down on Iranian cities, exposing Tehran's inability to respond in kind. The lesson was harsh. Without long-range strike capability, Iran was vulnerable. Out of that war emerged a doctrine built on self-reliance. With limited access to Western weapons systems, Iran turned elsewhere. Assistance from countries such as North Korea and China is widely believed to have shaped the early phases of its missile development. By the 1990s, Tehran had begun transforming imported Scud-based technology into indigenous systems. What started as adaptations slowly evolved into domestic production. And alongside missile development came something equally critical: concealment. Because in modern warfare, survival is everything. Over 4 decades, Iran invested heavily in vast underground storage and launch complexes, what military observers now call missile cities. These are not simple bunkers. They are sprawling tunnel networks carved deep into mountains and reinforced with layers of concrete and soil. Inside, missiles are stored, transported, fueled, and prepared for launch, all beyond the view of satellites. VO5. Traditional silo systems keep missiles in fixed vertical shafts. Iran uses those too, but its innovation lies in mobility underground. In several facilities, missiles are positioned on rail tracks. They can be moved quickly through tunnels and brought to hidden launch hatches. Analysts sometimes describe it as a missile magazine. One launches, another rolls forward, then another. Small surface openings remain sealed and nearly invisible until the moment of activation. Iran's missile arsenal is considered regionally significant. Medium-range ballistic missiles such as the Shahab-3 and the Sejil are believed to have ranges approaching 2,000 kilometers. That puts much of the Middle East within reach, including Israel and US bases across the Gulf. Iran demonstrated aspects of this capability in 2020. Following the killing of General Qasem Soleimani, Tehran launched ballistic missiles at US bases in Iraq. The strikes signaled coordination, reach, and a willingness to use precision missiles in direct retaliation. It was a message: Iran's underground force is not theoretical, it is operational. Major powers also rely on hardened missile systems. The United States operates hundreds of silo-based intercontinental ballistic missiles. Russia maintains one of the world's largest hardened missile networks. China has constructed new silos and an extensive tunnel system, sometimes described as an underground Great Wall. Even North Korea has tested tunnel-based launches. But Iran's operational concept stands apart. While Washington and Moscow largely depend on fixed silos, Iran emphasizes movement within underground networks. Fixed silos can be identified and targeted, but missiles that travel through concealed tunnels are far harder to pinpoint. Mobility underground complicates enemy targeting calculations. And in deterrence strategy, uncertainty is power. Iran does not officially possess nuclear weapons. Instead, it leans heavily on missile deterrence, the threat of rapid retaliatory strikes across the region. Surrounded by U.S. installations and facing long-standing hostility from Israel, Tehran's planners have built a system designed to survive the first wave of attack. The tunnels are deep, the entrances are concealed, the launch points are multiple. In modern conflict, visibility can mean vulnerability. Iran's answer has been to disappear underground, missile cities carved into mountains, rail systems hidden beneath rock, launch hatches that open without warning. Whether viewed as defensive deterrence or strategic escalation, one thing is clear. Iran has transformed tunnels into a central pillar of its military doctrine.
ما این رسالت تاریخی رو امروز درک می‌کنیم و با تمام قوا انشالله از ایران عزیزمون، از استقلال کشورمون و از نظام جمهوری اسلامی که خود مهمترین حافظ تمامیت ارضی کشور هست با قوت انشالله دفاع می‌کنیم و حفظ می‌کنیم.
By God's grace and strength, we will not lower our heads in the face of these difficulties. Even though the outside world and global powers are unfairly pressing us to submit, we will not bow our heads, just as you, athletes, refuse to bow to difficulties.
With respect to your first question concerning the limited strike, I think there is no limited strike. An act of aggression would be regarded as an act of aggression, period. And any state would react to an act of aggression as part of its inherent right of self-defense ferociously. So that's what we would do.